So a while back I put out a video about how it's time to end non-consensual education for teenagers. That's forced or coerced education. You can go back and look at that video. It's on my YouTube channel. But I'll give you the quick of it, which is that I think forcing little kids to learn things is fine and works well because little kids trust adults. But once puberty hits, prefrontal cortex comes online, teenagers, middle schoolers, and high schoolers, they don't want to just accept what adults believe. They're ready to discover the world for themselves and reimagine the world, which is one of the incredible things about young people, especially teenagers. And so we try to force them, and unless we have parent support, it's almost impossible to force kids to learn subjects from teachers, subjects that they don't want to learn from teachers that they don't necessarily like. Or they might even like the teacher, but they don't necessarily want to learn the subject. Or they might like the subject, but they hate the teacher. So in either case, we have some coercion going on, where the kid is being forced to be in a classroom with somebody they don't like, or forced to be in a class that they don't like. And it just doesn't work, because you cannot force a kid to learn something that they don't want to learn. So I had a whole video about that, but what I want to talk about in this video is what I imagine consensual education looking like. I think some people call it free schooling, or I like to call it free school. And the reason I call it free school is because it's grounded in freedom of choice and agency for the student and their family, right? I don't necessarily think that the student should be making all their decisions on their own, and hopefully their family is helping to guide them to make good choices about what they're learning, and the teachers too. But at the end, it must be the student's free choice to be there. And let me make the argument of what this looks like. This could look like a student entering high school, and they are maybe on the verge of learning algebra, which is a normal 9th grade subject. They're supposed to be learning English, and they're supposed to be learning usually biology in 9th grade, or sometimes a sort of repeat of middle school science called earth science or physical science. But instead of forcing them to take algebra and earth science and world history, and they've already had those subjects from age 3 or 4 all the way to age 10. They've had 6 years of those subjects. So if they're interested to continue learning those subjects, or learning those subjects more in depth, let them. But oftentimes they'll only go to art or music maybe once a week in middle school or elementary school. And what if they want to do more art and music? What if they want to learn in the art room or the music room? Or there's a bunch of different subject areas that aren't covered in the standard curriculum. Areas like finance, business, banking, insurance, tax law, business law, small business law, cooking, sewing, health, things about health and nutrition. All forms of, so many different forms of art that aren't allowed or taught. Like rap music, or abstract art, video creation. I mean, some schools have this stuff, and some kids have access to it, but it seems to be a smaller part of the curriculum. It's kind of like maybe 1 hour of the day that a student gets to do the the subject that they really want to do, and they spend the whole rest of the day doing the subjects that they have to do. Gardening, agriculture, pet grooming, zoology, pet raising, parenting, like parenting as a class. I think you'd be surprised how many kids would want to take these types of classes and how much better our world would be. And part of the problem is that the system is so patronizing. It's so, I know what's best for you. But there's been some back and forth about some speculation as to the industrialists who designed and created and funded the creation of the American public school system. That it was created not to empower and enrich people's lives. That's kind of the facade that they slapped on it, was sort of this liberal arts education to empower people, but that it was actually designed to create obedient employees and obedient soldiers, but mostly employees for the industrialists, the capitalists who kind of control our world. Sorry if my politics are coming through a bit. So there's been this thing that Rockefeller, the steel guy from the 1920s, was attributed to saying that he wanted the schools to pump out obedient workers, but it's actually hasn't been proven that was said. It's more of a speculation that was what was being said behind closed doors. And the liberal arts education is great. I think it's really great, the idea to learn math and science and English and all this really academic type stuff. I don't have anything against it for anyone that chooses that to be their vocation, for that to be their area of expertise and learning. But I'm not going to say that that's the only valuable type of learning that there is. And furthermore, I'm just going to hammer the point home again. It's not working. You can't force teenagers to learn things that they don't want to learn. It doesn't work. So we would, of course, have a much better world, because instead of kids in the classroom putting their heads down, becoming depressed, learning to hate education, learning to hate learning, we'd have kids that are engaged and learning something. Even if it is music, but you know what? At least if it's music, they'll have music is like a source of therapy, It's like writing songs is like journaling. It's like singing songs, performing is like talking to a therapist in some ways, It can bring a ton of joy, and it doesn't have to be an expensive hobby. In fact, it's much less expensive to be a musician than it is to be the type of person who constantly buys concert tickets to go watch other musicians. See, when we empower people to create their own art, to manage their own finances, to take advantage of the tax law the way the rich people do, to start their own businesses, to grow their own food, to know about their own health so that they don't have to go to the doctor. These are the types of things I taught for 4 years in high schools mostly, and substitute teach another year after that. So I've got 5 years interacting with teens, and all of the things I'm listing are the things that kids are interested in learning. They want to learn how to start businesses. They want to learn how to fix a car. They want to learn how to cook healthy food. And a lot of these kids that want to learn this type of stuff, they're having trouble getting engaged in the academics because they're skeptical about whether or not the academics are what's going to lead them to have a successful and happy life. And you know what? I think that skepticism is well grounded, because the academic route, there is a ton of competition for those jobs, the types of jobs that require master's degrees. Meanwhile, a plumber makes more than most master's degrees without any debt. And before you bring up, well, you can't plumb for your whole life, hey, you can make enough money in the first 10 years while somebody else is spending 6 years in college and all that debt. You can save up enough money to retire or buy properties, set yourself up financially with a retirement and a pension. And after 10 years, you can go work a McDonald's job, or you could go back to college, but now it's paid for by your investments. Or you can start your own plumbing business and manage other people. These kids are smarter than we give them credit for. And I think the non-consensual school system sucks. And I think America would do well to really start investing in our people, believing in our people, and giving our people free school. So I'd love to hear anyone's comments on this. If anybody has any expertise in school funding or the types of laws that are currently governing the U.S. schooling system, I would love to get connected with anybody who is interested or has done work in trying to put forth new legislation that could potentially replace the legislation that's currently governing our schools. In any case, the internet's out there, so hopefully soon there'll be programs where kids can get their GEDs through the internet without having to do so much BS and waste so much time in these non-consensual prison-like schools. Anyways, have a great day, guys. I am really hopeful for the future. I'm really hopeful for these ideas to spread and become more popular. They're not my ideas, I've pulled them out of the ether. We're all creating this together. We're all creating this new future together. And it's going to be really bright. I know it.